against the Wellington Wildcats. As always, my name is Blair Monroe.
And I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And we have a great day for you here today.
The sun has come up, which is really exciting. It was a bit overcast earlier. We're nervous about rain potentially coming through later
Than we've seen over the last couple of games. But first up, we have Groot hailing from Auckland with their coach, Warren Buckingham. Captains, Ben Waller and James Crosby.
and Liam Haverfield as captains, with Josh Broughton, Aaron Neal, Mike Connolly, as well as other teammates. We see them all running onto the field now as the fans are cheering. So the vast majority of the New Zealand Ultimate community has gathered here in Christchurch to cheer on these teams. We just had games going all the way. Now, it's interesting to note as well, Wildcats typically some confident handlers, some great big long options, and as well some small ball, close quarters ultimate. The very best on display for you here today. The first pull is pushed out of bounds. That's an upwind pull, which is a bit more difficult. Looks like Ben Waller from Groot will be bricking the disc to the center of the field as Wildcats sets up their defense. Appears to be a bit of a zone.
So again, the wind, it's kind of a bit gusty. It feels like it's coming from the right-hand side of your screen all the way over to the left.
Which means that Groot right now has a tailwind, pushing at their back, opening up space for Hucks. Interesting that we see their setup right now is a bit closer to the disc. I mean, with a player like Aaron Neal in the deep space on defense, it can be intimidating to make those deep looks. He's such a strong player in the air. But also, I mean, stretching the field could be quite advantageous, especially, again, when the wind's at your back. Makes longer throws just a little bit easier.
Miller Mercer with his low release backhands, forcing the disc to go backwards. Groot trying to shift the mark. Great pressure on that defense from Tyler Hogg.
Absolutely. Also great to see the thrower there faking, just trying to move the mark in order to open up the throw that he wants to make. And we're seeing an assassin in this zone right here, with two people on the mark, trapping it downfield, and then the third marking the immediate swing. This doesn't seem to be phasing the Groot offense as they're managing to stay really chilly with the disc and find the open players. Regardless of the assassin, cleaned up there by Sticky. What?
And then, as soon as he releases the disc, the wind brings it back the other way. A great reversal of fortunes to keep the disc in Groot possession. Ben Waller looking to target the near sideline. Some quick give and go passes. Finds Liam Haverfield.
Oh, a bit of bodying. They find Stevenson. Really great to watch his zone. Oh, Groot is moving the disc in such a chilly way, finding the open player, and Sticky once again with the D there, just predicting where the disc is going to be and jumping onto it.
Neal there marked by Stevenson, manages to put one out to Yo on the far sideline.
And Stevenson and Neal are veterans. They go back to playing together. Ooh, and Andy Neal manages to toe it inbounds.
Great work there, great field awareness, great bodily awareness to keep that toe in the perimeter of the field. Despite the bid from Rutan.
Lachlan Robertson with a crossfield upwind hammer.
Nick Whitlock puts up the long bomb to Tyler Hogg. But the defense says, not today, the Dikembe Mutombo block. Not in my house. Ben Waller initiating with Miller Mercer in that backfield space. Joined by Troy Stevenson.
And interesting to see that while Groot's moving the disc here, while Wildcats are setting up some massive defense, there we see an athletic play by Yo.
There's the long shot up to Ben Waller.
Waller,
who actually...
To see an ultimate frisbee, you know, points are points, but when you start off the game with a point like that, and your teammates flood the field, it just brings everyone up so much more to celebrate that win.
And we'll see that one again. There's the shot. It's nice to see, particularly as we've seen Ben Waller.
Great banter on the sideline as the disc goes up.
Great pull. Not a lot of roll, so that gives Wildcats a bit of an advantage. Haverfield now with the disc.
And Groot's setting up in what looks to be a junkie defense.
Pete Hoban breaking ankles, putting his hands up saying, hey, I was open. Great work there.
Dan Aldridge, in the middle of the field, looking for the swing.
Finds Panaya. Haverfield Penaya, great separation there, turning that into a deep cut. Aldridge just leaving the ground. Gravity needs to be turned back on for that man. Resets to Haberfield.
Beautiful under yards there on the open side.
And with Pete Hoban's speed, it's amazing how those undercuts don't gain as much ground as you might think, just because his momentum carries him.
As opposed to high popped backhands.
Great pull down there.
And reels the power position back in to throw a small undercut. Groot making some great close passes, working the disc down the field. I love the energy that they're bringing out right now. So much power, decisiveness, and quickness in the way in which they're playing. Everyone's
great
going for the disc.
Recovery by Groot to keep possession.
And the speed at which they're moving the disc, I think, is resulting in bit of a knock there. Everyone's jumping up just fine. Is resulting in some swilly passes, which led to that turnover. But also, I think Wildcats were struggling a little bit to keep up with that speed. Something that Groot is really putting out on the line. Absolutely.
Wildcats eager to put a point of their own on the board, not wanting to concede 2 back-to-back points to Groot. Mike Connolly, as the wind picks up. Again, we're seeing the impact that the wind has. Joe Penaya-Smith receiving the disc on the far sideline. But it's one of those things, Kelsey, that I think is important. As the shot goes up, Aldridge double coverage, pulls it, full put. Great read, but not able to pull that down and put a point on the board for the Wildcats.
Let's see that one more time.
Up, and yeah, just the spin on that disc. Rippers have a couple of volunteers from the audience to throw a disc on the sideline. We'll be able to see the kind of conditions that these players are struggling with and still performing so well in.
Exactly. The clouds have blown over, the sun. And a massive bid from Penaya there. We're seeing some really physical play here. It's great to see that both teams are on the same page while they're bumping into each other and bodying up, that they're both very much okay with that level of play.
There is an agreement that despite Ultimate being a non-contact sport, these players are all at a level where they're probably okay with a little bit of physicality, and so we're not seeing any calls made at the moment. A reminder that Ultimate is self-officiated. There are no external arbiters. Each player on the field acts as their own referee to make calls, to understand the rules, and to apply them, and then be willing to have that discussion in the event that a call is made.
And one thing also important to note at the highest levels of Ultimate, as we're watching here, that while physicality is common and injuries are common, that it is relatively, it's safer. That the more you play Frisbee, the more you become aware of dangerous situations that you put your body in. Dangerous places to jump up when something else might be happening, a person might be coming from a different direction. So these players are also all at a level.
What a great put through for Groot.
As well as some Wildcats players with their hands up, also celebrating that point, adding some great spirit to that. A really, not needed, but a really beneficial upwind point to add onto the scoreboard for Groot at this point. You've been training for this, but at the same time, you're a little bit tired, and feeling the crowd pick you up can really help. Neil catches the bounce.
Just great work there. Fielding that pull, starting off the Wildcats offense, even though they are working upfield. Groot sticking to a person defense, looking to isolate matchups. But again, Peter Hobart, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. And Whitlock sends the bomb up. The blue bomber.
Great to see a safe play made and everyone popping just right back up. Groot seemingly with just as much energy as if they'd scored the point, while Wildcats also really stoked to be on the board one more time. Haberfield looking at going over the top and just double checking have played together on various teams, you know. Of course, Wildcats, Groot, they've been training the whole season for this, but at the same time, so many of them have played against each other and with each other at the World Championships on the world stage. Waller with the disc has played with many of the Wildcats players, and exciting, you know, to be able to match up against them and show, hey, this is what my club team has been working on, and this is where we're at, and yeah, playing against them as well.
Troy Stevenson throws one out of bounds, picked up by Riley Van Turnhout to initiate the offense. A great break opportunity here for the Wildcats. Neal, far sideline, Fitzpatrick Cockram. The central surgeon.
And Stevenson with a massive mark there, just stopping all of those rounds.
Yo with the disc now. Pinned down by Mercer. Great, have ourselves a game on our hands.
Let's see that one more time. Straight to the front corner.
Pressured by Troy Stevenson.
And Stevenson is such a threatening player defensively in so many parts of the field. Yo looking, he's shaking his head no. Looking for the around and then notices Whitlock.
A marvellous DC. Liam Haberfield instead going for a single bun, tying up his characteristic golden mane to keep it underneath the hat in the wind, to keep it out of his face. Otherwise, in still conditions, deciding to rock the hair, hoping that it adds to his aerodynamic efficiency as he streaks downfield.
Now, I really like this zone that WildCats have set up here. When you have such depth and such height on the team, you can place someone like Aaron Neal deep. He's so consistent in the air, able to read disc so well, and then take other three massive players. We've got around the disc, not just on the mark stopping the arounds, but also just, you know, stopping any through movement. As a handler, when you have three massive people in front of you, just big players, it's much more difficult to try to sneak it through, you know, find holes when the wingspan is stopping all of that.
Absolutely. But Troy Stevenson now going over the top
Cheeky
despite the wind. Ben Waller with a great hammer. Into
and we've got Robertson with the disc.
Robertson, rather.
Right now, Wildcats capitalizing on the break side of the field. Whitlock streaking deep.
Double coverage, hoping his height is enough, and it is. He pulled some of the strongest opens players in the country. But as we always say in Ultimate, you cannot teach tall.
And I love that Whitlock just looking, you know, dishing and then immediately going deep for his teammates. He wanted that disc in the end zone. Bids going up, looks like Waller, where they'll be shutting down a few of those deep options and potentially looking at stopping that quick flow that Groot is getting off.
So great pull there by the Wildcats. Waller to initiate with Mercer, providing that support. Low release backhands with a little bit of bounce on them, trying to get them up into the hands of the receiver. The wind at the Wildcats' backs.
Mercer looking for that strike cut and stumbles just a little bit. Too much power into that acceleration.
A big wind-up. Van Turnhout doesn't take a bite of the fake.
And Wildcats right now with their defense really stopping a lot of the downfield movements. Interesting, in switching to their person defense, they're providing a few more challenges in stopping that flow that Groot's really been showing in the zone, just shredding their zone. We see Waller just grimacing, wanting to throw it, but seeing that that cutter's not out. Also taking a sub there from the Wildcats. And what's really great to see is also the players right now, group players are attacking the Frisbee. They're hungry for the disc. These cuts are 100% and they're attacking it as if the Wildcats are on their tails. Disc goes up.
So we'll see that again. High disc. Yeah, it looks like there might have been some contact on that bit. Undercut, miles of separation, but too slow to initiate. Doesn't really get them any gain from that. He puts a bomb up of his own, a long shot.
A bit of bodying between the offense there. Messy stack can result in that. Centering to the middle of the field.
Rutan, who had a great performance in our showcase game last night.
Swinging to Waller, who's really been commanding the field here. Setting up plays, always a safe reset option.
In fact, we can see just how much the threat of Nick Whitlock in defense is respected as Ben Waller tries to create enough room that he can get clean options to reset that disc as we move upfield. Rutan, center field.
And we're seeing great ultimate here as you learn when you start playing, you know, looking downfield for a few seconds, not seeing anything developing, and then just looking immediately for the swing. Right now, this defense on Wildcats' part is really effective in kind of stopping that flow again that Groot brought out in the beginning.
You can tell Groot are just hungry. They're waiting for something to open up, something long downfield.
They're also consistently kind of getting open on the open side. Something for Wildcats to note, also downfield, to be looking at taking away those options. We've got a massive sideline too. We're hearing a lot of voices as teammates are shouting to their teammates on the field about the force, about the throws that are coming off the dangerous areas of the field. Beautiful inside out, capitalizing on that break side.
Only 6 points on the board. Some fantastic ultimate on display for you here today at Ngā Puna Wai Sports Hub in beautiful Christchurch.
And these high fives are definitely putting a smile on my face. Feeling that energy from the sideline all the way over here, and the way in which Groot is lifting themselves up, and the sight of, you know, the goal of what you want.
You'll find a whole host of players in this community who will teach you the rules, who will show you the kind of, oh my goodness, an opportunity for Groot here.
Elements of human failure, you know, we're not 100%. We can't be.
There.
Yeah, that agility, the ankle-breaking cuts you see here, just the jukiness as they score that point. Love that.
A teammate of Nick Whitlock, who's currently playing as an offsider on the WildCats team. So a little bit of intra-club competition there. Team players who have, as we've said a couple of times, played a lot of games together, but now being on opposite sides. Hoban, a great receiver, marked by Waller. Again, former Marvelous DC teammates for the mixed division, but here in the open division, bitter rivals. Mike Connolly, number 8, laser beam to the far sideline. Haberfield hoping for a shot at redemption.
And we see 2 players going deep. They see Haberfield as the disc, and they want that deep look. Right now, WildCats making a lot of space, a lot of ground. Their undercuts are massive. They're not short in any way. I mean, again, the throws are pinpoint. They're coming off. Panaya, a handler, he's going deep for it.
What a grab! Not able to pull that one in, but he keeps it in hand. Great roll.
Pops up right after the action roll, which makes grabs cooler when you can action roll afterwards.
Haberfield now. Panaya looking for another opportunity. Despite the bid from the Groot defense. Keddy for WildCats, number 20.
Panaya's just, he's hungry to get it again. He's feeling the fire.
Hog pulling it down over a great bid by the Groot defense.
Yeah, we're seeing bid after bid on Groot defense, also showing that, you know, Groot's not going to let them get this point easily. Hoban.
We cross the half-hour mark. The game remains tied, 4 points apiece. WildCats and Groot in the Opens final for the 2021 Grand Championships, the New Zealand Ultimate National Championships.
And 2 points, two notable highlights, I think, from that point. What a great catch by Hoban there. They're really doing it. They're not giving up at any point. We've got Neil with the pull.
A lot of float. You can see it moving in the wind, a little bit of shift there. Groot, fielded by Mercer, coming down on offense, hoping to not concede this point. WildCats keeping the game very tied. Despite initial early momentum established by Groot, it swings back the other way. The game so even at the moment. These are some of the best players in the country. They've made it all the way to the finals. So much experience, so much athleticism, so much energy to bring here.
And Groot really going back to the pop passes, just the quick movement that they had in the zone to start off the game. Similar to the last game with Blueberries, we saw when Nexus was throwing a zone against them, they were just waiting for the right things to open up, making the clean passes, the clean movement, and Groot playing a very similar style here. Potentially a theme, an MO of Auckland Ultimate Frisbee.
Absolutely. So Miller Mercer, far sideline, trying to chip away at it, just getting those great little passes, those couple of meter gains as they try and work through that WildCats zone. Currently spearheaded by the mighty, the giant Tyler Hogg, supported by Nick Whitlock. Great tall players, a lot of reach there to just try and take away as much of the field as possible.
Absolutely, and even when you know that you do see gaps between those two, it can be quite intimidating to throw between them with wingspans, just between those two big people.
But the hammer goes up anyway, a little bit of catch in the wind, but it's...
He saw that throw go up and he almost shook his head. I'm wondering if that was a communication error between his team and him. Neil's such a dominant space in the downfield, and again right here finds an open player.
But again, as a deep...
Wind pull, which hangs a bit too high. And
that disc left the field is where it will come back in. As you're exactly right, Kelsey, when you talk about the impact of the wind. I think it's also important to note that the wind, typically, the speed picks up the further from the ground you get. Hoban, great reception by the Wildcats.
And I love that trust that Haverfield's, he recognizes Hoban, he knows him as a player, and he puts up almost that no-look backhand around before Hoban's even in that space, allowing Hoban to accelerate and jump onto that disc. Haverfield releases it deep, looking for Connolly.
5 points apiece, just trading backwards and forwards. These two teams clashing to great...
5, as we're entering the 52nd minute.
So Groot with some very short initial passes. Again, that same...
Giants, Whitlock and Stevenson marking each other. A few deep looks. Group players potentially cutting off deep options there for each other.
A questionable throw, but it finds the hands of Troy Stevenson anyway, who puts a long shot up. Great acceleration, trying to close.
Oh! As he goes not just horizontally, but also vertically to reel that disc in. I think for Wildcats. Cuts setting up well before the disc is in play, giving him options. And they move it to the break side.
Great low break throw. So again, just to clarify, when Kelsey's talking about the break side, the players on the field on defense, they're trying to force only one side of the field to be thrown to, in this case, the forehand side or the near sideline. So a break throw is any throw able to work past the defense and target that far sideline at the moment. So for a right-handed player playing for the Wildcats now, the best, or probably the most consistent throw for them is going to be the forehand, as that's the one that's most available to them based on defensive positioning.
And we're seeing a lot of really great movement from the Wildcats right now. So many cuts happening, so many being set up. But also, because there's so much of this movement happening, especially downfield, I see some options being taken away as well. Potentially room for conversation on the sideline. To talk about how they can, and about making that open cut for your teammate. Definitely better than not seeing enough action happening.
Wildcats, Robertson with the disc. Back to Neal. And again, just swinging that momentum back the other way. A great, just outside reception. Waiting for something to open up for him. A great pass through.
At D, but the experience, the speed, the athleticism of Aaron Neal just paying off to catch that pop pass in the end zone.
Great work there. Now that was a break for Wildcats, I believe, to take the lead for the first time in the game. Andrew Neal.
Hands up indicating that they're ready, and Neal with a massive outside-in backhand looking for the roll.
And he finds it. It's an opportunity to set up, going for a person defense this time. So tight coverage on that defense.
Fighting for that around look back to Waller. And Wildcats doing a really great job of shutting down that break side. Really shutting down a lot of options downfield as well. Pushing for that high release, high around backhand.
Low shot up the far sideline. Covered by Peter Hoban, but gets it through to Ben Waller anyway for a long shot up.
And it's slightly floaty, puts Haverfield in the contention. I think if he'd put that more into space and less hanging in the air, it could have reeled that in for a point. But if you're putting a hanging disc in the air and Haverfield's around, he's definitely a threat.
Again, utilizing the wind to their advantage, able to put shots up over the head of the defense, letting the wind carry them downfield. Fitzpatrick Cockram puts a big shot up.
Cuts happening. Setting up movement on the field before the disc is picked up.
Great run through defense.
Sneaky. Yeah, coming through from behind, seeing that disc go up.
Aren't looking downfield to where those threats are coming from.
Assist there.
We're gonna get to see that one more time. Campbell Jordan.
I think the defense wasn't quite set up. I mean,
Van Turnhout, Peter Hoban again. Huge chase from Lee Yo, wanting to stop that first pass. Hoban and Yo setting up the defense to try and stop Ben Waller and Miller Mercer's march up the field. Great verticality to keep that one in hands. Nothing developing downfield. Rutan making a great undercut.
For an okie doke backhand.
And it's just so wonderful to watch the way that these Groot handlers work. One slashing up the line, trying to get a quick chip down the sideline. The other one dropping back to fill in for a great reset, luring the defense out. Just great movement. Troy Stevenson barely needing to leave the ground to get that one in possession. Off the hands.
Making his teammate leave the ground to catch that continuation.
Here, a very exciting opportunity for them, despite the fact they are working upwind. Great undercut there, so explosive.
Looks like Stevenson was potentially...
So much of the available throwing space, giving this back to Groot, only meters in front of their own end zone.
Got the handler just moving, turned out with a great layup bid. Looks like he was on the line, looking for a push pass.
Rutan trying to get the disc back to Waller, hoping to close off.
Swinging the length of a field, manages to fake and cause Robertson to lay out for a potential D. And clean
on the space. Great, comfortable catch, pulling it back to a one-point game, 7-6. Groot to come down on defense.
Yeah, I don't know where some of that clean, slick ultimate frisbee to put another point on the board.
There's the big shot. Whitlock with a great shake.
Through. He doesn't even need to take off. He's just got the wheels. He's off to the races to reel that in safely.
Why Sports Hub in Christchurch very soon. Championships in beautiful Internet matches, but present in the tournament overall as they put on this fantastic three-day event for us. Our streaming has been brought to you by Sky Sport Next in conjunction with We Are Canterbury. A huge thanks to them, without whom Kelsey and I would not have the privilege of being here to talk you through the exciting conclusion to our tournament, the second half of this game as teams circle up.
Waller with the pull.
We can hear the wind whistling through the commentary booth as Penaya and Haberfield start to initiate the offense. Great cuts developing downfield, but they're both sealed off by impressive and fierce Groot defense. Haberfield finds Hoban on the near sideline, marked out by Ben Waller.
Interesting to also see the way in which Wildcats are stretching the field here. They're really hungry for those deep looks. Quite a few of them happening. Yeah, like two deep cuts there. They're both looking for that deep space. Potentially less communication in how they're setting them up.
Great work, great find by Penaya, setting the disc to Hoban in the midfield, who resets quickly to Neil to Haberfield.
Absolutely, and again, with such athletic...
Again, having the downwind at your back, having that downwind point, means that the discs typically get pushed down to the ground, so those low releases become that much more troublesome in conditions like these.
Wildcats are set up in a vertical stack.
Well within Neil's firing range. A bit of collision there. Charles Peterson and Joe Penaya.
And Hoban seemingly always open for those around looks.
The great...
Hopping right back up.
Oh, we get to see that again. Mr. Consistent clearing out, finding space as Hoban finds Whitlock on that undercut, puts the scuba up, screaming Kobe. Far too focused on the game to pay attention to their environment. A great pull there from the Wildcats as Groot come down on offense. Waller to Mercer with the wind at their backs, just adding that little bit extra to their throws. Stevenson goes to ground.
A great around throw, steps out. Groot also similarly in a vertical stack, a big pop pass to the break side. And Wildcats recognizing, I think, that their person defense has really been causing a lot more difficulties, a little bit more drama in Groot's offense here. So sticking with that, which I think is a smart move on their part. It appears they're stopping a few more of the inside throws, giving Groot some easier around passes. Yo, nonetheless, with a sticky defense, not letting his player get open.
Great work there. Yo with a fantastic grab and a break opportunity here. Just again, the wind starting to gust up, making it a little bit harder to put those high throws up there. The edge of the disc catching the wind. Robertson and Yo in that backfield space for Wellington Wildcats, looking to drive the offense back upfield despite great coverage from the Groot defense. Fantastic cuts. Maybe a little bit questionable on some of those direction changes. Players taking a lot of knees as opposed to making those clean changes. The shot goes up. Fitzpatrick, Cockram, and Waller edging for position, but there's the run through.
Just sneaking in there. And I think that looked like it was quite a high stall count, excuse me. Groot doing a great job of just shutting what we expect to see a potentially great play and potentially another point on the board. Yo, an incredibly squirrely player. Waller, incredibly agile himself, marking him.
So the isolation cut doesn't seem to go off. There's Neil, marked by Stevenson. Back to Robertson. Yo with a little dodge jump to keep clear.
And we see this hammered down set defense, this person defense. Groot once again doing an excellent job of stopping potential open looks or potentially Wildcats.
There's the hole with an incisive cut. Great work though. Almost impossible to find. But we manage it anyway. We're going to see that again. Lucky Robertson puts the low shot up. Groot.
Neil puts the disc up. And Wildcats in a comfortable situation. They're really pulling away at this point. What I'm really excited to see in this point, disc bobbles a bit as it bounces off the ground. What I'm excited to see though is Groot playing their clinical, sleek offense with their quick movement and their high energy. We've seen them, make movement and breaking the zone, and disc goes to the ground.
Yeah. With a great opportunity for Wildcats rather, to put one more on the board.
Wildcats just checking his feet. Here we go once again.
The classic indoor score. Jumped in one
on them, drying them off can be helpful. Ready to catch, ready to throw the frisbee.
So Groot now on offense. Waller to Stevenson.
Massive deep fake there, huck fake.
Great pressure from that Wildcats defense. Yo, so squirrely. Shutting down his mark. Ooh, Whitlock and Stevenson.
I'm loving this matchup.
Probably two of the tallest competitive players in the ultimate scene in New Zealand. Really great athletes, both. Great reads on the disc. The disc simultaneous catches like those favoring the offense, so Troy Stevenson able to keep it. The power slide, the rock and roll move, keeping disc in hand of Groot.
Stevenson looking for the break as it comes around there.
A floaty forehand.
Seeing it into go, bringing the energy back up for Groot.
Just great work there by the Groot side, making it 11-7 against their Wellington counterparts, the Wildcats. What a beautifully floated forehand, just perfectly weighted disc. Comfortable
playing and taking time on the sideline to provide that out of the game awareness and insight can be so beneficial to a team. But when when everyone's keen to play and your own skills can be so helpful on the field, it's difficult to find people to do that. So great to see that teammate's still engaging with his team and getting involved by being able to offer that insight despite what unfortunately looks like a season-ending injury.
Absolutely, but now Wildcats, Haberfield getting every second or third touch on the disc. Aldridge making some great undercuts, finding Broughton.
Looks like Waller poaching his player a bit there, watching the deep space a bit more, very wary of those deep hucks and offering support potentially in case it does go up, especially when the hands of a bomber like Liam Haverfield.
Especially as you mentioned, how much easier the wind at the back makes it. Bought confidence from the Wellington Wildcats. What kind of options, what can he do to help support? And it turns out in this case, the answer is not.
DC alias.
Early touch to the ground. Miller Mercer to help with that offense. Those great pivots and fakes that we've seen from him all tournament. Just doing such great work to open up that space, to shift around the mark. Managed to get a massive break as Wildcats look to be sending down a four-person zone almost. Four people in that cup, possibly Lee Yo a little bit further back in that sort of middle space.
And And right now, Groot having no issues. It doesn't look like WildCats are stopping the crashes. So Groot kind of capitalizing on that, finding the spaces in the wall there.
There's the mighty hammer. Fades with the wind.
You know, I'm on board with that play. Great execution, you know, to an incredibly capable receiver.
Just a casual backhand. As he sat uncontested in the end zone.
And Andy Neal breaking ankles with the undercuts there. Manages to get open.
Dull thud echoes around Ngapuna Y Sports Hub.
And quite tight spacing in that cup there. Players really sneaking in.
Great way to chip through that zone, finding those narrow openings and threading through them. Mercer slow with the release, trying to pull the zone towards him, knowing he can get around the giant hog.
We've got Andrew Neal this time with Hogg and Whitlock in that cup. Mercer pointing to right where he wants his teammate to be, right through the middle there. And we're seeing so much patience right now in letting the cuts open up and kind of finding the right opening. We're seeing, you know, fakes to seeing those deep looks, and not entirely sure if it's 100% the right option. And as a handler in a zone, if you're tentative about it in any way, it's safer to look for the swing instead.
Absolutely, and that's what the zone is really trying to pressure here. It's trying to pressure a lot of passes. Every pass made is an opportunity for a turnover.
Whether it's thrower error, whether it's receiver error, whether it's the winds doing its own thing with the frisbee, or your own team jumping in the way. Every pass, as you mentioned, is an opportunity for error. So right now, Groot's handlers really rising to the challenge and showing them that there's not a lot of room for error. We're going for another hammer, and second time is the charge. Groot is very capable of bringing it back, and it depends on, you know, the energy, the aggression, the competition. If they want it, I think they really could come away with it. Right now, WildCats just showing with their experience, with their big athletic plays, with their openings on the field, as we're seeing here, is really paying off for them. But, you know, just as Groot started the game, really just with this power pushing WildCats on their back foot, if they can bring that back and continue that going, we could see the tides change.
Absolutely. So we're seeing the WildCats, Haberfield trying to get free for hoping to reset the disc. Just doing some great work. Even though they're focusing on those small passes at the moment, we're still seeing large backhand fakes, particularly from those big hands like Haberfield, Panaya. And I think it's nice that little bit of saber rattling just to remind Groot, hey, we've got the big shot. Big fakes threatening that deep space, saying, hey, you better not give us even an inch because we can put anything deep. Pulling the defense into that deep space to take away those threats, and then knowing they've got those concise, controlled passes and great short movement to get everything into the hands of Connolly for the score.
And it's just cuts, making them look like not viable options, or, you know, maybe they aren't at all, because we're not seeing the throwers throw to them at all, which led to the around pass and the break side movements. But just props to that strong defense and the strong handler defense that Groot is throwing.
So we're seeing that WildCats zone one more time.
Groot with the wind at their backs, still making clean decisions, small passes to each other, just to break that zone space, not biting on those deep looks just yet. Faking a big hammer.
So still just Waller and Mercer relatively static in front of that zone.
Waiting. The fans want to see, you know, they're faking a scoop or two. Fans want to see, you know, more of those big upside down throws. But thus far, Groot, again, keeping it safe with the clean swings, finding the open player.
A nice shot over to Troy Stevenson,
who snuck under there, I think, in a way to split Aaron Neal. They had two deep, and Troy Stevenson, by coming just a little bit closer, made him so much more of a viable option, just a little bit farther away from that deep.
Still the WildCats zone getting into position. Waller, center field, just trying to keep that disc moving. Nothing really developing downfield. Managing to hit Troy Stevenson on that pass earlier was a really great option, but Still nothing really happening. The wind picking up a little bit. We can feel it here in the booth. And so we're seeing lots of just very short but very quick passes, a lot of stability, a lot of spin on the disc, which is absolutely necessary to keep control of the disc in conditions like this.
A lot of stability, definitely. I think it's surprising right now. I mean, it's the getting towards, like, it's wearing on in the game, but Groot does appear to be a different team than how they started. Stream isn't streaking across looking to score that point. But they're a lot more reserved in what they're doing. They're a lot calmer, and there's a lot less downfield movement happening. And whether that's due to tiredness or mentally or physically or both potentially, it's interesting to see how their play has changed a little bit in response to the zone.
Great thread there to find Waller.
That said, they're not making bad decisions at the moment, whereas in the beginning they were making turnovers through little bobbles, potentially moving the disc a bit too quickly for their teammates to know. Stevenson in the backfield with his arms up, like, hey, throw it big to me, I'm ready, and I'm here. But the handlers really being conservative and safe with the ways in which they're moving the disc.
Groot doing a great job maintaining possession again, just working that zone. Definitely a huge change from the play they were exhibiting in the first half of the game. Waller being sort of integral to that Groot movement, really agile, really quick off the mark.
Interesting also to see the way in which they're moving the poppers downfield. The people running the midfield aren't coming into the cup from behind. They're really leaving that space open for handlers. I mean, mostly the handlers are swinging. It looks like a travel may have been called.
Yeah, and that's one of the perils of someone like Miller Mercer, who has such wide and quick explosive pivots. It's very, very easy for him to have his back foot, his pivot foot, lifting off the ground as he's just constantly swiveling, moving around, throwing these big fakes, trying to get a bite out of the defense. Reminder that the player in possession of the disc cannot run with it. They can pivot, and they can hold on to it for a maximum of 10 seconds, kind of like a shot clock in basketball, as counted by the opposition.
Also important to note, though, that on travel calls, while it may seem like if you moved your foot a little bit, how would it really impact the throw? But when you have a big mark on you like Whitlock, dragging your foot a little bit can make the difference in actually being able to throw it around. We've got a big defensive play. It looks like there's been a call there. Great to see how
it will remain a game to 15. If Groot put this one away, putting them on 9, it'll be a game to 14. WildCats only 1 point away from victory.
Wow.
What a grab and a bomb.
Fitzpatrick Cochran was working, seeing his feet, seeing the line, working to keep it in. Where you see?
Isolate. Player in the midfield.
Once again, it's Yo who was set up looking for that.
Attempt, knowing he'll be out of bounds when he touches ground, tries to let go of it. We get to see it again.
And that was great defense, reading those hips, knowing where the danger was, reaching, seeing him out, also just double checking on Yo's safety there as he slipped out of bounds.
Waller on the disc with the far sideline, trying to get bites out of Robertson, trying to shift him out of position. We need to conclude this point to tell you what our soft cap is going to be. Ben Waller's safe hands.
Fakes it deep.
Fires the long bomb. Troy Stevenson in position. Chased down by Whitlock.
Can he make it? Oh, have those yards on you.
Great toe drag there by Nick Whitlock to keep it in bounds. Trying to shift the mark of Troy Stevenson. Fires one up. A lot of float. Too much defense by the Groot side, says not today.
Bites of the apple there, and bringing it down one and then ground instead of staying in the hands of the Wildcat players.
Groot are going to want to close this point out for themselves to make the road to victory just that a little bit easier for them.
I feel like a bit of picked up energy here. It's cool to see. Yeah, I think that just goes down. But cool to see them really responding to this, the sense of urgency. Unfortunately not.
So 14-8 in favor of Wildcats. As we may have predicted, it'll be a game to 15. Wildcats 1 break away from victory. Groot Need an offensive hold, and then a string of...
He's got a massive run up there just because he wants to throw that big outside in backhand.
So much float, but it goes out of bounds.
Couldn't reel it around quite enough to bring it back in. We have Ben Waller picking up, while his teammates set up in a vertical stack downfield. Mercer at the front of the stack, expecting potentially to be engaged. Oh, just setting back up as the primary reset.
Wow, so you can see Ben Waller's brought the disc back in where the disc crossed the perimeter boundary. Great work to move that disc up the near sideline by Groot. Another slip from Miller Mercer. Ankle breaking Jukes, but whose ankle are they breaking? Puts one across. Great shot there.
We're seeing the same clean, decisive movement from Groot here.
Great grab.
Keeping it alive, down. Celebrations, running onto the field.
Great lefty forehand out, movement into space. Low release backhand, layout grab.
And the way in which
is that
Mercer's...
Peter Boardman, the leggy lefty.
Waller with a pull. Once again, out of bounds. Joe Panaya has raised his hand, but also really athletic players. We might see some great matchups in this point here.
Peter Hoban. High shot over the top from Haberfield.
Once again, Waller is eyeing up that deep space, kind of allowing those undercuts to happen. Wary of the disc going deep and his potential.
Dan Aldrich resets to Haberfield. Still marked by the big wings of the Birdman. Troy Stevenson gets one across. Again, Peter Hoban's explosive cuts, just losing yards as he powers back downfield to give those resets there.
He's been dominating that underspace in this game. Really, as you see with the hand signal there.
Charles Peterson, number 14 for Groot, trying to apply a lot of pressure, hoping to keep this game going. Haberfield on the near sideline. Shoots one through to Hoban. Aldrich streaking deep.
Looking for that deep look, hungry to catch it deep.
So quick on that turn that he loses his defender entirely. Number 11 slipping over on that great undercut by Hoban again. Connolly one more time in the red zone. Finds Haberfield. Wildcats hoping to close this one out. Broughton is the reset. Haberfield telling him to get moving.
Getting into that critical space where one, potentially two more throws could result in a point for them.
There it is.
Open side.
15-9 Wildcats over Groot at the Ngā Puna Wai Sports Hub in Christchurch. For the last time until the next time, my name is Blair Monroe.
I'm Kelsey Bielik.
Thank you so much.